Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hi, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. I have to say a disclaimer. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host or the station. Folks, you're going to want to listen to this podcast. This is the last few days, I guess, of Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. So my guest is perfect for this last week or last 4 days of June. And my guest is CEO and founder of JOYGAGE. And my guest is Craig Fowler, and he's going to tell you about JOYGAGE and what it is about. And I have to say this, folks. I'm 63. I attended a virtual seminar in my township for seniors. Can't believe I'm a senior citizen. And you know what they talked about last week? Keeping your brain active. It helps. It helps your brain to be active. Not that it's going to prevent you from, avoiding dementia, but it will help you stay active longer. So please listen to my guest, get paper, pen, and get ready to listen to some really great information. You want to stimulate your brain. You want to do exercises. You want to stay in communication. You want to stay active. So I want to welcome my guest, Craig Fowler. Welcome, Craig, to Chatting with Betsy.
Yes. Thank you so much, Betsy. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you are coming on.
Yeah. So thanks for the introduction. Just
welcome.
As a quick introduction, I'm Craig Fowler, the CEO of JOYGAGE. We founded this company about 1.5 years ago with the goal of using technology specifically to help people with dementia and Alzheimer's stay active. And the name JOYGAGE really is a combination of joy and engagement. And I think you launched this really well with discussing how important it is for people really at all ages, but especially as we get older, to stay mentally and physically engaged. And I know my mom had early onset dementia, vascular dementia, that started in her early 60s. And she was alive until my mother was a wonderful caregiver who cared for her during most of that period. Towards the end, we had to put her into a memory care facility because it became too much for him at the later stages. But most of the time, she was home. And something that we kept struggling with was finding ways to keep my mom active and engaged. And I think a lot of your listeners who are caring for someone with dementia or have dementia probably will relate to how, as your brain changes, some activities that at one point you were able to enjoy become just harder and harder. And one of the examples is even something like is television and movies. People who love movies often will struggle with keeping up with plots and can get frustrated when they don't remember something. They're trying to watch a movie with their husband or wife or kids and suddenly get becoming frustrated. And so our goal with JOYGAGE was to find and match different forms of engagement and entertainment to people living with dementia, but to actually match things that will still work for them really well at their exact stage and interest, so that they never get to a spot like my mom really got to, where she was just bored a lot of the time and struggled finding things that were, still challenging for her, but actually her cognitive abilities.
Right. And I totally get that, because with my late husband, Matt, it got to a point where he couldn't do some activities, and he couldn't even follow a movie. I mean, Matt loved John Wayne movies, and he couldn't follow a movie anymore. I wish that I knew about JOYGAGE, or that there was something like JOYGAGE around for my husband. And this is why I love having people like you, Craig, on, for people to know about resources to help themselves and their loved ones. Go ahead. I'd like to know, how does it work? Like, what do you exactly offer in JOYGAGE?
So the way JOYGAGE works right now, it's a simple application that you can access via any mobile device or any computer. So we went in with a mission of trying to help everyone that we possibly could. So you don't have to buy any special hardware or any kind of special devices. It's something that can be accessed really quickly via the internet on any device, or downloaded as an app to a device. You can do either one. And it's what JOYGAGE does when you first log, about 5 minutes for someone to sign up and start using it. So we made it really easy, and it learns. It's a program that has machine learning built in that constantly learns about the person living with dementia by understanding how they're engaging, what they're watching, what they're interested in. And there are even a handful of questions that they'll answer at the very beginning, and JOYGAGE works in the background. Specific forms of engagement, entertainment that the person will enjoy, and then link that person to those. So, for example, with movies, we will link someone to movies of a certain genre, a certain era. For example, with your husband, it sounds like the Western section would have worked well. And then we have a series of 8.5 by 11 cheat sheets, we call them, that you can print out when you're watching a movie that actually list the characters. It has a short summary in 16-point font of what happens in the first quarter of the movie, a short summary of the next quarter of the movie, then the third and the fourth quarter of the movie, so that when someone is watching a movie, if they're forgetful or have a hard time keeping up, they can always glance down at the sheet and look back up at the screen and see how many minutes they are, what's on. And we just find that helps people kind of have a bit of a security blanket with them that allows them to always reorient themselves back into what they're watching.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Does JOYGAGE offer games and music?
Yes, it does. What we do, we link to partners and third-party sites that have different types of games. Our goal is not to create lots of things. We really are trying to find different opportunities and link our members to those opportunities. So the games that we have are all games that have, for the most part, they're games that can be adjusted to different difficulty levels, and they don't have any sort of financial or monetary requirements for putting in credit cards, those types of things. And so far, we've had a lot of positive feedback on our ability to help our members find options that allow them to play, we'll call it games, in a very safe way. We've heard many. I think a lot of us have heard stories or had known people in the past with FTD or some forms of dementia who can very quickly get their credit card taken by a company and lose a lot of money. And so many games, even ones that look innocent on the internet, do that. So we try to make sure everything is a kind of a very innocent and are games that people can't get in trouble playing.
Well, that's good to know because people are, a little leery. And music, I mean, I can't even say enough. I could go on and on about music and how it helps somebody with any kind of dementia. And it's been proven. So do you have on your JOYGAGE where they could listen to different types of music, or does it take a person to like a radio station? How does that work?
Yes, we actually. So when we started JOYGAGE, one of the big areas of focus, and you're exactly right on this, Betsy. We're focused on making sure that people with dementia would have access to the music that really was meaningful in their life and that they would love regardless of where they were. And we realize there's a real problem with people as they get older and often move to different care communities and care settings, that what music they really enjoy, the music that really is meaningful, gets lost. And we wanted to provide a way for those for support that would learn the music that someone likes and make sure that they would have access to that, or that their care providers, their care partners, whether it's a memory care facility, a nursing facility, a hospital, or loved ones, etc., would have access to that music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere in the world. And so we started by doing research around finding the most popular recording artists of different genres from each 3-year period, starting from around the 1950 up, and segmented that music into different groups that we have, and then we work to match each of our members to the music that they really enjoy. Both, individual members who are earlier in dementia often just choose music from a larger list, and we can learn that way. But we also have the ability to go into people who are further in dementia, who in further stages of dementia, and who may not be able to just overtly go and choose music. Where we have the ability to go and start choosing and experimenting with different music to find what they really like as well.
I had to say, Craig, that I tell people, I suggest to people all the time, find out the music that your loved one likes and play their favorite music, not your favorite music, but your loved one's favorite music. And you'll see a change, when they get a little antsy, if they don't want to eat, if they are giving, a hard time with bathing. Try putting on some music. My husband loved Johnny Cash. And I would play Johnny Cash when I was shaving him, bathing him, even at the dentist, his last dental visit, which was a little rough. I told the hygienist, because they had music, I said, can you please play Johnny Cash and Matt will relax. And she did. She said he was pretty good. So I've seen music work. And I just really think that your app is something for people to take a look at. I took a look at it. I want the audience to know, and I found it very interesting. And it's something that if I had someone with dementia in my family, I would look into it. And I would try it out. You could always try it and cancel it. Is that correct, Craig?
Yes. We have 14 days. It's a very, very low-cost monthly subscription. Our goal is to get lots of people helped, not to charge lots of money. And there's the first 14 days are completely free, so everyone can try out JOYGAGE. It's easy just to go to www.joygage.com. That's JOYGAGE. Once again, JOYGAGE. And check it out. And it's easy. It only takes a couple of minutes. You can start using it on any device that you have. And Betsy, what you just said on I really so agree with you on the music side. And what really inspired me from to the music side was watching my mom in her last year go between so many different facilities. She started in a memory care facility, but as she became violent, she had to go to a lockdown memory care facility that they called for problem people. She had to go to a behavioral unit in a hospital. She had to go to at some point an actual hospital after having an accident. Then she ended up in a nursing facility. But I realized that my mom's story, unfortunately, is similar to many people's story. As they go further into the later stages of dementia, they go to so many different facilities and have so many rotating caregivers and care partners that no one really knows the music that they like. And their family members can explain, but what I saw through my time in these facilities is very little, if any, personalized music ever playing for people. But we also know that when people are in later stages of dementia, that music that's important to them is just like, I love what you mentioned with your husband, it really connects. So one of our goals is to see if we can help people have access to that music for a much, much longer period of time, hopefully all the way through their lives.
That is just thrills my heart. And I want to tell the audience, Craig was a caregiver. He walked in the shoes of a caregiver. So you have that caregiving heart. So you created this JOYGAGE for your mom, or it was after your mom had passed, but you're doing it, you're paying it forward.
Yeah, I did. And one of my, when I founded the company, I decided I've been in a number of tech startups over the last 20 years and been part of them as they grew successfully, and really have enjoyed, being in this tech space. But I always, in the back of my mind, I really wanted to do something that I felt was going to help people. And I had thought for a couple of years about trying to find ways to help people living with dementia. But as I started bringing the idea up to people, potential investors or people in the tech community, usually people would immediately say, oh, well, that's really hard. People with dementia and people of this age group don't like technology. No, it's going to be really hard to do. But Betsy, I realized after hearing that enough times that the need was huge, and people who have dementia can use technology. People who are older can use technology. Just look at the last year and how many people are on Zoom and who have been able to get out, be social with technology. So I realized, Betsy, that the reality was different from the perception. There's actually a lot more people out there who can benefit from technology, and the fact that so much of the tech industry has ignored that segment of the population for so long really leaves a lot of problems that technology hasn't solved. And so one of our goals is to work really, really hard, work with people, experiment, and find ways to make sure we can use technology to help people living with dementia.
That's just so awesome. I think people are missing the boat. Tech companies that won't, I'm going to say, take an interest in those with Alzheimer's and other dementias are really missing the boat big time, because people in the early stages, and it depends, everyone's different. My husband wouldn't have been able to. I would have had to have, helped him with it. But, they can use technology. And even for a senior citizen who doesn't have dementia, why not try this and keep yourself engaged with movies and games and music? It's so important. Our brain health is important. You need to, our brain is, use it, you lose it. And that's a fact.
Yes, you're so right. And when we designed JOYGAGE, we made it to where we know that people living with dementia at earlier stages can use it on their own, but some individuals, some members will be using it with the help of a caregiver, and there are some people with just their age and their technology background that will mainly have a caregiver helping them use it all the way through. But we've made the user interface to where it can be used on your own or with help from someone else. But your point is great. Keeping yourself mentally active is incredibly important, and we want to help people be mentally active with various things, and they're engaging not just a mindless TV like the Weather Channel. I've joked before, if you wanted to go in any facility across the country and watch and find out the weather, just go or any area in the country and watch the weather and figure out what the weather is. Go into a care facility and see what's on in the lunchroom. For so long, we've taken one or two basic forms and plug them in, and most people are bored with that. It's not engaging.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, Craig, that as baby boomers age, and I'm one of them, we're going to change what we want in our aging years, and we're not going to want to be, we're housed in some nursing home to sit there in our chairs and watch some news channel. We're going to want activities, and I think places are starting to wake up to this, that activities is important for those with Alzheimer's and other dementias, where before, be like, it doesn't matter, they have Alzheimer's or some of the dementia, and just sit there. No, you need to engage. The more active a person is who has any kind of dementia, they could stay, for lack of a better word, they could stay pretty good for a long time, depending. Everyone's different. And exercise is, the key. Do they have on JOYGAGE exercise groups or where people can exercise, like yoga?
Yes, we link to a number of providers, all available on YouTube. And again, our third parties, we encourage, if we link with members of someone they like, we encourage them to keep, to learn more about that person, that provider. But we link to a number of providers on YouTube of exercise of different sorts, anything from 3-minute extremely light exercise for people who have to be in a seated position and can't get up, all the way to some more advanced exercise. And again, our goal is to match the type of exercise provided to the individual person and their interests, their cognitive abilities, and their current physical abilities. Because every study that we have seen will say that physical activity is as important or even more important than mental activity to keeping someone as functional and happy as possible after they've been diagnosed with dementia.
Yes, absolutely. I can verify that. A neurologist told Matt the best thing you can do is walk, get your heart going, and exercise. She said that's better than any pill I can give to you. That's were her exact words, and I haven't forgotten it.
You're so right. And I'd like to just mention one of the things that we're focusing on now, as myself and my team, is also working with different facilities, assisted living and facilities, even independent living. There are a number of facilities who have great activity directors. They really try hard to provide great activities, and many of them are very successful for the residents. But there are a couple of problems. One is the area I'm in Michigan, we really, really struggle to find people to fill their open roles in facilities and in home health. So it's just a real struggle to find enough people to help really drive all of those activities and to keep people active in facilities. And, second, there are a lot of people that are very introverted. My father, when he was alive, did a great job working with my mom, but he was very introverted, and he was not someone that was going to be interested in hopping in to do the community activities and things. So again, one of the reasons why we created JOYGAGE is to make sure we can reach those individuals as well who would like to be active but who are not as interested in being part of a group activity.
That's a good point too. Matt wasn't one to play games, crossword puzzles. Yeah. Music and movies he would have loved. So, as a caregiver, you had to go with what your person's abilities are, what their interests are, what they like, and to keep it about your loved one and not about you, the caregiver. So that's where people get a little mixed up there. They think, I don't like that, so my loved one won't like that. No, that's not necessarily so. Craig, I just want to make sure people who are interested in checking out JOYGAGE, you gave the website. Can they go on Google, or is it just available on your website, like the Google Play Store?
Currently it is on the Google Play Store as well under JOYGAGE, so you can do a search there. I'd also encourage anyone, if they would like to look us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, you can find us there as well, and there's more information. But you can definitely go to also the Google Play Store.
Oh,
and
fantastic!
Soon you should also be able to do a direct download on the on the Apple. For Apple as well, we have a beta going with Apple as well. So.
And can someone over?
Yes. Oh, just so you know, everyone with an Apple device can currently also use JOYGAGE. We use it it works through the browser on any Apple device, but we're also have a beta to have it as an Apple app on the App Store as well.
Oh, that's good to know. And can people who were overseas be able to use JOYGAGE?
Yes, we have customers in multiple countries. You can set up. We've decided we will make this international, so there is no limit globally on who can use JOYGAGE. It is currently mainly linking to English content. That's likely going to change in the next 6 months as we have a lot of airs. But for now, it's English content that we're linking to, in English, in the app and website and everything is in English, but there's no country limit.
Well, that's great. That's great to know, because this show does go international, so that's great to know. That's why I always ask, if a service is available internationally. Well, I want to thank you, Craig, for coming on Chatting with Betsy, for inventing your JOYGAGE app for people to be active and engaged, which they should be. And I want to, thank you very much for sharing your information resource with my audience. I really appreciate it. Folks, if you missed...
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome, and good luck. Folks, I just want to say you need to check JOYGAGE out. 14 days for free. To me, I'm going to be blunt here because I'm from New Jersey. That's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Try it out. If you like it, you can subscribe. If you don't like it, you didn't lose anything, but you got to try it. You got to take a look at it. I would definitely take a look at it. And I just want to tell everyone, thank you for listening. And if you missed any of this podcast, you can hear it on your favorite podcast outlet. It's free to subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. Spotify, Spreaker is just to name 2, but wherever you hear podcasts, you will hear Chatting with Betsy. And I want to thank Jeannie White, who's station manager at Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Jeannie writes the blog. Please read the blog. It will have information about our guests and JOYGAGE. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network, who makes it all possible for people to be heard, which is so important. Folks, please share this podcast to help other people. That's what Chatting with Betsy is about, is helping other people. So please share, because when you share, you help others. And that's what we should be doing. So until we chat again, this is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Bye, everybody.
Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon ALEXA, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.